Welcome to this ProspectingChannel.com special presentation on beach mining with a highbanker. Myself, Gary Sturgill, and the Fossicker drive down the beach in the Pacific Northwest to a place that has a known deposit of micron gold mixed with the heavy black sands. Black sand is deposited in streaks that you can see in the shallow stream sand that flows into the ocean. Because of the black sand's iron composition being heavier than silica particles, it deposits separately, forming these streaks. Gold, also being heavy, gravitates with the black sands, making these areas great for mining. Remember though, not all black sand has gold mixed with it. There has to be a nearby gold deposit for this to occur. They dig a hole for the intake so that the pump only sucks water and not sand. The intake also has a filter on it to prevent silt from going into the pump. Pouring water into the hose before attaching it to the pump helps jump start the siphoning. The vibration of the motor is enough to cause it to sink into the slurry sand, so a board platform is placed beneath it to stop the sinking. Beach highbankers are generally wider than other highbankers that utilize matting rather than riffles. Fossicker uses a special magnetic matting known as Cleangold matting, which he will be demonstrating today.
Now I'm going to charge up my highbanker on the Cleangold part of it. And the reason I do that, this is a magnetic system, and actually we use magnetite to collect the gold, okay? As you can see, the magnetite clings onto the magnetic part of this system. That should be good enough. If you look at the pattern that the magnetite is made on the magnetic part, it looks like corduroy pants. Those are like mini riffles. They're maybe 1/32 high. So essentially, it's a riffless system. This here is my hopper. As you can see, we have to give it a good spray because we want the concentrates or the sand to slurry. I recommend that you don't put in dry sand or even semi-wet. If you slurry, you'll get most of it. If you don't, you're going to lose some of the gold. Mainly because gold needs to settle out. And when you're with heavy black sands, which are usually on some of these beaches where you do get gold, it's got to have a chance to separate. Now also too, because of salt water in that, you get a kind of a gooey, kind of a mess. I don't know what to exactly call it. But in order for that to break loose, you must slurry. So therefore, when it runs through the hopper, and by the time it gets down to the sluice, it's been very well slurried. Now let's see if we can get some gold in there. Okay, we'll put some in here. So you can see the sand breaking down through the screen, and that slurries it out so everything can settle. A setup like this is 16-incher. A setup like this will do about 1 ton an hour. Essentially what makes this a good setup here is the size gold that you're working with. Generally along the coast here, the particles of gold run between 100 to 200 mesh. Because of that, you want to try to keep as close to a riffless system as possible. Mainly because in a riffle system, black sand will start backing you up. And fortunately, because this is a system that runs on magnetite, we don't have to worry about that. And that's one of the features of using this type of system within a heavy black sand area.
Black sand pocket.
Ah, look at there. There's a nice... Okay. So you can see the black sand streaks here in the sand that Gary just brought over. One of the advantages on this system as well is when you generally use some of the riftless systems out there, if you use a higher speed of water, it flushes the gold out. With this here, there's no problem. You can run at a fairly good rate, and yet it'll still capture the small particles. You see here where the sand is coming through, you can see these black streaks. That's all magnetite and hematite, and that's generally where the gold hangs out. We have a special mat right here. Now we want to run the material through this matting. This here is basically a raised rubber ribbing strip. The reason that's there is not to collect the gold, it's to tell you if you got any gold. Because one of the advantages of raised rubber ribbing is it clears itself out quite quickly, and it'll retain the particles long enough to see if you're in the right spot or not. From there, we go right on into the clean gold part, which is the magnetic part of the system, and that's holding the magnetite, which we pointed out earlier has the little mini ripples there. But if you notice, I'm going to show you something here, that this is actually kind of like a three-dimensional system, because this is not solid, you see? So therefore, a lot of the heavy material does not lay on top like it does on a normal Highbanker sluice. It literally goes underneath the magnetite and retains itself there until you clean this out. You can see some of the particles in here. You have to look closer. We're talking about 100, 200 mesh gold here. So look sharp. You see a little bit here, a little bit there. So we know we're getting some gold here, though this is not exactly the richest spot to use. Yeah, take a look, Gary. The tide's starting to come up.
Yeah, we better get this thing packed up, cleaned up, and get out of here. Yeah, we're going to get stuck here for 6 hours.
Yeah, I certainly don't want to get stuck on the beach here today. Yeah, let's clean up and we'll take it back to the trucks and see what we got.
There you go.
Okay, we'll shut down the motor. Let's take the foot valve. That turned out very good. Nice little hole, put some rocks in there. That kept away a lot of the debris from getting into your foot valve area here. Right here, see? You can do this in a river as well. It works very well, and it keeps a lot of the debris out of your machines. So you notice too, these bags here I use as filters. These last a long time. I highly suggest these on foot valves or anything where you're using a water pump. You put it on your pump and it'll keep the debris out from getting up into your spray bar system. Because if you have to take your spray bar system apart, it's a pain, as everybody knows that's have to done it. You can find these on my website, by the way, which is fossickers.com. And I would highly suggest you to buy these. Okay, we got the hopper off of it. Now, for people that are high banking on beaches, even on the river, I would suggest that you can just use some 2x4s like this, drill holes where your legs go, and that'll prevent your sluice or your high banker from sinking down into the gravels or sand where you got to constantly adjust your equipment. This stops all of that, and this is very simple and very cheap. This matting has very deep recesses, as you can see. And so the gold and heavies usually lie way in there. This is why you can't see the gold while you're running. So what I do is I give it a heavy splash just to flush out the material that's trapped in there. Now let's take care of the clean gold. Voila. Gary and I just parked up on the hill. We're down at the creek, and now we're going to find out what we got with the Highbanker, and we're going to break it down here with the final step with the thing called the Prospector. Okay, we got it broke down. I'm going to pan the final part of the black sand, and we'll see what we got. I give it the bump like this so that it makes the gold go forward into the bottom of the pan. It helps me locate where the heavies are. For those of you that use a square pan, you probably notice that my technique is a little bit different here. The reason why is that we're working with 100, 200 mesh gold. We're on a beach. And because of that, I more or less use a slide method. I don't bounce it like I do with bigger gold, okay? Now, one of the things about black sand, when you run water over black sand continually, it compacts. And when it compacts, it's very difficult to get the black sand to come out of the concentrate. So what I do when it compacts is I take my forefinger here and I run it across, lightly across the black sand like this, and then I continue. And if you notice, we're getting a lot more of the black sand out of there. What I've done is just break the tension. Well, it looks like we didn't do too bad today.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. It's nice that that creek's actually carrying some gold of size and it's not all ground down into a powder.
Yeah, I'd say this is what, about 100 mesh maybe?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that. I'm happy.
For more information on clean gold, contact fossickers.com or the telephone number on your screen.